Hello everyone, it's Dana here. Welcome back to another episode of ResearchWorks podcast. I'm so glad you decided to join us today. Super excited to be talking and planning for what's going to be happening in the year ahead. And for many of us, we know that EACD is happening in June 2026 and it's going to be in Galway. And as a lot of us are thinking about preparing for going to this particular conference, I thought it'd be really great to speak to some people who've been really involved, working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this conference the best that it has ever been. And so I would love to be able to introduce you to our two speakers today who are involved in the conference and just learn a little bit more about what this conference is all about. So I'm super excited about it. So welcome to the podcast, Dr. Hazel Killeen, President of EACD Annual Congress 2026, and Dr. Rory O'Sullivan, Scientific Chair of EACD Annual Congress 2026. Welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Dana.
Thank you very much, Dana. Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. And we were just commenting before, yes, it's the end of the day for me. It's early morning for you. It is just a mind warp when we keep thinking about time zones. I always feel like we're in the future. But I can see in the background, there's people getting up early and we're just getting ready to go home at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So grateful you've woken up early for us to chat with us today. So I really just want to walk through what the conference is going to be about. But before we do that, I'm always really keen to know how folks like you get involved in organising a conference. This is as big as EACD. Hazel, what's your role in the conference, and what is it that you do on a day-to-day that's fed into you getting involved?
Well, my background is occupational therapy, and I guess since I was probably about 16 years of age, I used to volunteer and work with children with disabilities in hydro pools and that. So I had worked for 12 years in paediatrics in Ireland and actually Australia, Dana, and many other places around the world. And before I came back and I started in the university here in Galway. So if you add up the years, you'll know my age. So I won't tell you how many years I'm here. But so I'm 15 and 15. But yeah, so I guess, I was working here in paediatrics and linking with a lot of people internationally kind of within the field. But then a group of people got together to develop an Irish Academy of Childhood Onset Disability. And I got involved in that as well too. And we were kind of looking for a focus because I know we were there was lots of smaller projects going on. And we thought, what about pitching to have this Congress here in Ireland? And I guess it went from there, and I know people could say it, but really we got this fantastic group of local organising committee kind of involvement, which is kind of a lot of people from kind of mostly Galway and Dublin, so kind of east and west of the country. And we started from there, and then the university here in Galway, we have a conference, an organising office, and they were very helpful in helping us support the bit of interest. So we went from there.
Oh, that's amazing. And the planning for that goes back quite a long way, doesn't it, when you're starting to pitch the idea?
It does.
When did that happen?
So I think that was like 2022 that we looked at it. So it's 4 years ago.
Wow.
It's amazing and it's incredible how quickly the time has come into 8 weeks before the Congress.
I actually found a picture last night, Hazel, of a very fresh-faced group of us in 2023 after being awarded a conference in Slovenia,
really?
looking delighted with ourselves, not knowing the work that was to come and all of that.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Hazel. It's lovely to hear about the background and what got you into this, because it does take a lot of time, doesn't it, to plan something like this that we get the privilege of coming to and consuming the content and being part of. So thank you for saying yes. Rory, over to you. What's your role within the conference and what led you to being involved?
Yeah, so I suppose similar to Hazel, my current role in the Central Remedial Clinic here in Dublin is I'm head of strategy and innovation. But before that, I was working in physiotherapy and particularly gait analysis. So I would have kind of linked with a lot of the group that we now work with in terms of taking referrals and doing gait analysis with them and for them. So we would have been in and around the kind of burgeoning Irish Academy of Cerebral Palsy along with Hazel. And I'm not sure who's bright idea it was to bid for the conference, but we did, thankfully.
Yeah.
And so it was great. And as Hazel said, it's been a real genuine pleasure to work with the local organising committee, which, as I think you know, it's hosted across 4 separate organisations. And, it's really a real genuine pleasure to pull all those people together and have everyone contribute so well. So my current role on it is, as you said, the scientific chair. And so again, a real pleasure to link with the scientific committee from across Europe and across the world, actually. And and that's been one of the real bonuses of the whole process is that linking in with people, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And that's the whole idea of a conference, is that we have this opportunity to get together, like minds, iron sharpens iron, thinking about what's the best thing, what's the next thing, and constantly pushing the field forward. So it does something to you personally, I think, being involved in a conference committee, and the people that you meet are, usually lifelong friends. It's, depends how it all goes, but hopefully everyone's still lifelong friends at the end of it. Thank you for sharing that as well, Rory. Look, we're going to get more into the content of what EACD is about this year, but we always have to do an icebreaker question. And I do love a good icebreaker question. You're both looking really nervous, but it's a fun one, hopefully. I'll give you a moment to think about it if you do need it. I have come up with my answer. So the icebreaker question for today, which is a deep insight into you, is what famous life lesson have you learned from a movie or TV show? Does anyone want to take that one first? You're both looking so nervous.
Well,
Rory,
did you say you had your answer, Dana?
Look, I can go first. I can go first as you think about it, yes. And the good thing is I don't want anyone to take this one, because I would be struggling to think of one off the top of my head right now.
Right?
Right? So I have to go to Forrest Gump. I mean, life is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. But, chocolates are so sweet. So is there a chocolate I don't like? Not really. There's some I like more than the others, and it's okay. And I thought that was profound. I think I was about, when was that? That was in the 90s. I was in my late teenage years by that stage. And I remember the first time I watched it and I heard that line, I was like, this is incredible. It is so true. So we work in a clinic here, and families here are so generous with us. And at the end of their programs, they often give us chocolates, and they often give us a box of chocolates. And every time I get it, I go, there is this sweet satisfaction about, you just never know what you're going to get, but I'm happy with anything as well. So that one's mine. That's mine. It's quite mainstream. Yeah. Who wants to go next?
I think you put me on the spot already, Hazel. I think I'm one of the few people who's never seen Forrest Gump, so you were safe enough with that example, actually.
Really?
So bizarre, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rory, what famous
so
line?
you've put me on the spot. So it's going to have to go from the movie I've seen most often in my life, probably, is The Big Lebowski. So I'm trying to think, how do I fit this in here? So I think I'm going to go for the quote in the context of what we've spoken about, the organising committee and all the work. I think the dude abides is the quote that I'll go for. I think things generally work out. We all work well together if we stay calm. All the dudes abide, and we've managed to pull the conference together. So I'm going to go with that one.
That's a
not
good
bad, Rory,
one.
not bad.
Yeah, for one on the spot, that's good. Ed, our producer's just been nodding his head in the corner there.
I approve.
Oh, there you go.
Nice one, thank you.
You didn't approve of mine, just noting right now, but thank you. All right, Hazel, over to you.
Okay, for one of the movies I guess I would watch the most, probably at Christmas, I don't know if you know it, It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen that either.
That movie? Oh,
yes.
It's absolutely beautiful.
It is.
And it's this idea, James Stewart is the actor in it, and he's really browned off with kind of everything that's happening in his life, and he says, I wish I was never born. And then this angel goes like this and allows him to not be born, and he shows all the repercussions of him not being there. And it's just one of those wonderful feel-good movies where he's kind of experiencing looking at the world when he wasn't there. So I'm going to bring that back to one of our conference big national campaigns, which is Everyone Counts.
Oh, that is beautiful. Gosh, you guys have both come up with something much more profound than my life is like a box of chocolates. But thank you. That was really, really good. Ed, I mean, I haven't prepared you for this. Do you want, you chimed in before. Was that you with a line? Is there something that you want to add?
No, mine would not be anywhere near as profound. So,
so you're bowing out of it. You're bowing out. That's okay. Well, thank you for participating. And I love that you brought it back to conference, which is what we're here and what we're all about. So let's just start by talking about EACD. What is EACD all about this year, Hazel? Can you walk us through what it's all about?
Yeah, well, I guess I guess if I was to use one word about what it is about this year, it would be connection. And we have worked very hard, Rory leading on it from the point of view of actually having a really sound, evidence-based, strengths-based kind of and holistic look at childhood onset disability with our tracks. As well as that, we have introduced what we're calling the Everyone Counts Hub. And that's for people with lived experience and their families to join and get involved with. And what the nice piece about this is there's the overflow between actually the academic side of the Congress and actually people being involved in this other piece as well too. So as well as the 4 days of kind of Congress activities, the academic part, people can go and attend and get involved in activities kind of across those 4 days as well too, which sort of really gives you a feel of Ireland as well too, because hopefully you can meet and connect with people who kind of live here, And I think the other really nice piece as well too is it's not just about sort of those two groups, but it's actually all about our communities in Ireland as well too, because we've added this other one piece into it, and it's so simple, and it's basically a national campaign for every school, club, business and village to make one improvement for people with disabilities in their communities. So it's a call to action, and I guess that kind of, it brings in so many different strands where you're kind of having a marrying of worlds together between the academic, the community, people with lived experience, and kind of all together actually coming together like at a festival level, so we're really, really looking forward to the energy that creates for everybody involved.
Oh, that sounds so wonderful. I love that so much because and we've seen it evolve over EACD over the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say, where there's been greater involvement in the community. And what you've just described there just seems like the ultimate combination, right? Because you never want just a conference to be just about knowledge that we've gained. We want to know who, for, why, and where is it actually headed. And I love that you just provided context and local context. Yeah. That is wonderful. Rory, for you, I mean, you've been so intimately involved with all of this. What is about all of this that you're most excited about?
I think, look, I think on a personal level, and you've mentioned it already, I think a community coming together with like-minded people to kind of look at it and examine how we can better serve our populations and the people that we are here to serve, I think is very motivating. And I think being behind the curtain this year as chair of the scientific committee, just seeing and really appreciating the breadth of submissions and presentations. So we have people from, I think, over 55 countries.
Wow.
We had about 1,400 abstracts in total. And, and I know we're going to come on to the keynotes, but if I was to highlight one thing, I think our instructional courses and our mini symposia, I think are just a breadth that's there. And if I'm stealing a tagline from one of them, actually, and a lot of the themes here are really about not just informing practice, but transforming practice. And that's one that jumped out at me. And from across our mini symposia and instructional courses, I mean, there's an awful lot of things really focusing, and it shows where our community is going on things like co-design and implementation science. There are sessions on caring for the parents. So all that kind of holistic approach, as Hazel mentioned, is, I think, really standing out to me and is really fantastic. And I would have to say, for people who are listening, we had, I think, something like 270 submissions for instructional courses and mini symposia, but only had space for 46. So it kind of shows the level that we were looking at and the ones that we couldn't accept this year, unfortunately. I mean, there was really, again, some outstanding work being done. So it just shows the kind of breadth and the innovation that's happening right across our community, which I think you can only be inspired by. And I am certainly excited by ahead of the conference.
That is wonderful. And I love a good instructional course because it is wonderful to hear about the new research that's coming out and you get this great, fast fire track of what's been happening. But in terms of what it is that you can bring home tangibly and start to implement, it's these courses that really give you the tools, right?
It is because it's exactly that. It's what people are really doing on the ground in their daily practice and what you can learn from. So, for me, if I'm talking selfishly, going in my role as kind of one of my roles as head of innovation here, I almost go to these conferences as a shop window. So last year, social prescribing was just blew me away. So we're implementing that just this year. So, I kind of hope everybody goes with that mindset and kind of looks to see what can you bring back to your place of work, or what can you bring back to the people you serve that's going to better our services? Yeah.
That is brilliant. And that's the value of the pre-conference workshops as well. Like, I think, I don't know, maybe sometimes, and I said that to the previous, we had the conference recently in Oceania, and the pre-conference workshops were just such a highlight. And they often seem like this optional add-on, right? That you add on, obviously, when you look at your registration, but when you do go to them, they are fantastic. It's just getting people with the greatest ideas. They've already implemented it into place, and you get to learn from them. And that's a really exciting piece.
It is. And thanks for me. Yeah. And I think if I would again urge people to look at our pre-conference courses, and full credit to Dr. Aoife Mahoney, one of our small group of organisers I give full credit for organising all those pre-conference courses. But again, they're very kind of exciting and new and innovative. Again, I've mentioned already things like implementation science. So CanChild are coming over to run a pre-conference course on that. So, and things like autism spectrum disorder, lifespan and CP run by our own CP Life Group here in Dublin, and neuromuscular disorders and obesity. So a lot of really new and innovative topics and courses. So, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's really exciting. And I think that's the part that where conference has been really shaping our work lately. And I've had the privilege of seeing conferences evolve over the last few years, to be honest. And one of the key features that I've really noticed is wanting to make a lasting impact beyond the conference. Is what's going to, a conference can come to a city, can come to a country, but what happens after that? And I know that this is a strong focus for you. Hazel, do you mind talking us through what that looks like for Galway this year?
Yeah, sure. I think this is only the beginning of it, Dana, because I guess, internationally people are kind of moving away from this idea of heads in beds and bringing people kind of to different countries for one reason only. Yeah. And I guess when you think about the carbon footprint as well, too, when people come to different countries, how do you justify that? And what people are starting to look at now is, when you think about that footprint, looking at a handprint of good that will kind of offset that footprint. So, I guess the first place it started for us was in Bruges 2024. And they worked with their tourist board to look at sort of how they could make this impact happen. Wow. And our national organisation, which would be like Walsh Ireland, which is the tourist board, they kind of heard about this, and they've gone to international conferences where where basically it's getting bigger and bigger, if you like. And they decided to pilot a framework of social impact here in Ireland. So they approached three different congresses that were going to happen, and ours was one of those three. So we're very lucky to have partnered with our tourist board to look at this, but not just look at it kind of in a kind of a, unobjective way, if you like. We have a group, Meet for Impact, from Montreal, who are actually coming in to measure the impact over time. So we have 4 days of activities, lots of really cutting edge activities. So for example, frame running has just started in Ireland. We have the first frame runner in Ireland, who is a 16-year-old boy who's co-designing a whole kind of group of sessions on frame running with his physio, Aisling Renshaw, in Enable Ireland. And there's other things like adapted surfing. There's wheelchair hurling. So hurling is our national sport, and they have just actually started a wheelchair hurling kind of adaptation of hurling. There's ceilidh dancing, so wheelchair ceilidh dancing. So there's so many different activities, and really what it is doing is pushing the boundaries of what's available and what's possible for people with disabilities, but also with in mind to actually measure the impact of that. So 6 months post-conference, Meet for Impact, we'll actually look at the data and the figures related to this as well too, to see where things are at. But I think this is only the beginning. So even talking to our own tourist board, I think maybe in 5 or 10 years' time, every Congress will have this part to it, and there'll be lots of incentives to actually do this, because for me, it just makes complete sense. Like, if you bring the thought leaders, the biggest thought leaders of the world, to one area, surely that should impact, and not just indirectly on the people who it's for, but directly So we've been very passionate about this piece, and we hope that it'll be a very exciting and merged kind of couple of days for everybody.
Yeah, I'm just so impressed with the depth and how well thought through this is, and the fact that you're wanting to find measurable impact, because we talk about impact a lot, isn't it? But in terms of how we measure it, it really does require that the ability to talk to different departments. It can't just be within the research setting itself. It's actually talking beyond within our community.
Absolutely.
That is incredibly exciting. And I suppose when I look at the title, the theme that you have for this year's conference, which is Encourage the Young and They Will Flourish, I can kind of already see where this has come about, but I would love just to hear from you, because I'm sure that there's a lot of thought put through this. Like, how does it actually come about, and why did this phrase of encourage the young and they will flourish come about?
It's interesting that you say it like that, Dana, because you might have noticed there was an Irish version of that as well too.
Yes, and I didn't even attempt to try, but I would love for you to say it. I did see it and went, no, I'll do that.
That was going to be our challenge to you, Dana. You're to reverse, but send back the movie one to you. You try and pronounce
exactly.
that.
Yes, yeah. So it's Mullen Óige agus Tiocfaidh Siad, and that is obviously encourage the young. And it's an old Irish proverb,
right.
And of course it makes sense to every child and all child development.
Yes,
that if you put the time in and the effort, kind of when people are young, like early intervention, that it will. We thought it was really nice, just from the point of view of a lifespan approach to disability. So I guess in the context of what we were talking about, it being strengths based and holistic and all of those pieces, that saying kind of was culturally appropriate to us, but also internationally kind of where we wanted to go with the ethos of the Congress.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, because I would never have known. I think in terms of understanding local and culturally, that's part of the reason why it's so amazing to learn from other countries, and in terms of their approach, because you can only take back all the learnings, and we're just better off when we're actually doing things together and learning from each other, rather than just continuously reinventing the wheel. That is not what we're all about. I'm going to step over into the keynote space now, and on the website it is very, very impressive, and it is very exciting to see who you have gathered together. Rory, do you mind going into a little bit about the keynotes and what we'd be expecting to hear from them this year?
Absolutely. Yeah, so as you say, very exciting. So we kind of had focused it. Well, what we did this year, of the 6 keynotes, we wanted that we would have 3. We were going to call them fireside chats, which again might be a kind of an Irish context, but essentially we have 3 panel discussions and 3 of that kind of more typical standard keynote talks. But I think what stands out across them all, again, is all the things that Hazel has mentioned, that we're talking about, not just informing, but transforming practice and bringing real life information back into practice. So I suppose I go in order as they appear in the conference, as opposed to showing any level of favoritism. Like it's probably I think so. Yeah. So obviously kicking off, I think makes sense that we have a talk on the F words, and that's going to be led by Rachel Toplicki from Canchild. And what's nice about that, I think, is that maybe the F word wrongly is often associated most with cerebral palsy, but of course it's not. It's a framework for across disability, and that's what this talk is going to focus on. So we have a panel of 4 parents joining Rachel, and they're from different diagnoses, different cultures, different journeys, and that's really the point. So it's going to show how the F words isn't just a framework, it's a kind of a call to action, and the parents are going to give their perspective and thoughts to that, which is going to be very exciting.
Yes.
And then kind of building on that, on the Thursday then, our next keynote is probably the people that a lot of ye will be familiar with, is John Coughlin and Agnes Coitz from the International Cerebral Palsy Foundation and this CP Europe. So they're building on their manifesto for cerebral palsy. So even the title, I think, is stimulating. Nothing about us without strategy.
Beautiful.
So they're going to really talk about what does it take to turn good intentions into real lasting change, which is very consistent with the themes of our conference.
Yes.
And then on Friday again, so we have a panel and more standard keynote each day. So our panel on Friday will be innovative adapted physical activities, participation and lived experience. So again, the lived experience is really important. Exactly. So we have Alex Crawford, who people may not have heard of. So Alex is from Northern Ireland and has set up the May Murray Foundation in Northern Ireland, which really pioneer inclusive activities across Northern Ireland. And she has a daughter with cerebral palsy, who a lot of us will be familiar with here. Her daughter does a lot of movement breaks at our conferences here. Can't join us in Galway for that, unfortunately, but has often got us all up dancing, and I'm not a dancer, so that is quite a job, yeah. And so that would be good. And then from data to difference is another, which kind of is, I really like that title as well. So that's a number of representatives from registries from across Europe are going to come together to really show how data can move from numbers into real life impact.
Yes.
And the plan again is to have, they won't be joining us in person, but Dr. Claire Kerr from Northern Ireland, which is one of the longest standing registries, is going to collate some videos of parents to give their thoughts on registries. So any concerns they have on the use of data, how data impacted or how it benefited them, and their thoughts on that, which I think is important to consider as well, beyond the kind of ethics and consent of data capture. It's really, what does it mean to people and what are their thoughts on it? So I think that will be important. Yeah. And then from your part of the world, we have Professor Williams joining us from Monash University, who's going to talk on developmental regression in childhood. So again, probably a condition that's not in my field at all, but long recognised as an important presentation. And she is going to cover the growing opportunities for early intervention and how we should rethink and respond to make sure that no child is waiting longer than they have to. So again, very important talk and very innovative talk there. And our last talk then is our joint session with the European Paediatric Neurology Society. So there's always a joint talk with them. So thanks for their input. And we've 2 Irish speakers for that, which is great in terms of local lasting impact as well in that area. So we have Professor Denise MacDonald and Dr. Kathleen Gorman, who are going to discuss neurology and neurodisabilities. So shared experience. They both work. One works in the acute setting and one works in the chronic setting. So they just discuss how they can work together to give the best impact and best outcomes for people with neurodisability across the lifespan. So again, consistent with our Óige, agus Tiocfaidh Siad. If I keep saying it, you get it and you have to say it, Dana.
You can say it at the end, Dana.
Oh gosh, exactly, I feel really nervous. I have a very...
I suppose advice to summarise just... Oh, sorry, Dana, go ahead.
No, I just have a very bad track record of saying anything outside of English. And I try really hard and I butcher people's names all the time, but I do try really hard. I'll give it a go, but you will definitely laugh at me. But to summarise, Rory, sorry, I interrupted there.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I suppose, again, consistent with our team and all the things Hazel has covered, is that person with lived experience input into our keynotes, which I think is something we were very keen to have, not just in the mini symposium and instructional courses, which is also a key feature, but right into the keynotes of our conference, that we have that input and that understanding. So that's really important.
Absolutely brilliant. And I love that you've said that because, for example, in the organisation that I'm at, we've been around for 8 years. And from the beginning, we've always had someone with lived experience helping us to shape our service. We've always had that. And we've had different parents, different experience come in. And what it does to us as clinicians and as researchers is there is such a great, and an accountability, I don't mean that in a negative way from an accountability, but are we doing what really matters? And as things change, are we changing with them as well? Because there'll be different demands in life and time points. And I think we need to be responsive to that. And I just love across all those topics that you have this lived experience weaved into all of it, because, you can't be doing any of these. You can't be investing all this time doing research without knowing this. And I love that you've done that. So thank you for building such a wonderful scientific program. The keynotes really demonstrating that. I did want to talk about the scientific program from the perspective of I submitted an abstract, a few abstracts, and I noted this time when I was submitting my abstract, there was something really unique that I actually just loved. It was so wonderful. And I was speaking with Professor Olaf Kras de Camargo last year, and he was excited to see how the F words were integrated into all the abstract submissions. First of all, whoever's idea that was, fantastic, absolutely love it. But Hazel, I'll get you to speak to that a little bit because it is so unique. And where did this come from, apart from it just being obviously brilliant?
We should come on more often, Dana. You're making us feel very good about ourselves.
Well, I'm very excited to be there. So you'll have a good day after this,
Yeah. Well, I guess when we had made the decision, kind of when we had pitched for the conference in 2023, that that we wanted to be holistic and we wanted to be strengths based and we wanted to stay away from kind of, a deficit focus and all of those pieces. So we kind of felt that it would be important that we'd use some type of framework to make sure that we maintain that kind of structure.
Yeah.
So we looked at the International Classification of Functioning Disability and Health. Obviously that is the cornerstone of all of it. I mean, to think that it is actually endorsed by 191 countries around the world as the standard for describing and measuring health and disability. When we try and link with different groups now at the moment, you realise how near sheer impossible nearly that is to do, to have 191 countries agreeing on one thing. So
that's right.
I guess we were happy, that we were going in the right direction with that particular framework. And I guess everybody knows then 10 years later, that Peter Rosenbaum and John William Gorter kind of looked at that framework and, developed a kind of a very child and family centred language around that. And we just thought that would be a nice way of, again, kind of, making it accessible to everybody, that language. And I guess, with the ICF, of course, they consider future, but with the one that was developed in relation to the F words, they explicitly use future in it.
Yes.
So we thought that was really nice, particularly in the context of where the Academy is going with childhood onset disability.
That's right.
And so I think it's made it very interesting to see whether or not we are capturing all aspects of childhood onset in relation to all aspects of life.
And if I could just add to that,
Sure.
Hazel, first of all, to yourself and all the other submitting authors, thanks for everybody who did give their F words, and we've aligned all our sessions in line with those F words. So I hope that proves thought-provoking for people. But I think if I could, maybe one thought-provoking issue that might come across in the conference, and this may be worth thinking about, is that when we were assigning them, there's maybe room for improvement in the sense that trying to fit talks into the F words, what stood out was the lack of talks in the friends sphere. So friends and fun are probably two. So I think that's worth thinking about, not to sort of, I think it's something we maybe can do better in, and something that, and maybe your experience village and all that the EACD plus maybe Hazel is linking into with that and helps with that. But it certainly stood out as an area that, we can maybe do better on. So it's worth thinking about.
And I think it will give us a lot to reflect on kind of after this Congress, and also I suppose we want to have that disclaimer that obviously we know that we have them in different categories, but we know that they're all interlinked, and that even though they might be under one F word, they link with other F words as well too. So but it's very interesting to see it.
It's brilliant, and I love that you were able to look at that actually from a research priorities area, because we all keep talking about community, participation, being involvement, which usually involves friends. But what is the actual work we're actually doing in the space? That I find that really intriguing, and that's something I think is a call to action once again.
I think so. I think maybe post-conference is something that we should look at and maybe look to put that message out. Yeah, I agree.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And I like the call to action, Dana. Put it in in that positive sense. It is a call to action. And maybe it should be. Yeah, it
really, really is. And I'm just making a guess here. I'm gathering, functioning will probably be quite high on the list. And
absolutely
correct. Yeah, functioning, future, and family, which is good to see. The future and the family feature quite high, and that is great to see.
Yeah. It's wonderful to have that framework. So much to reflect on and learn. And like we were talking about before, it is exciting being able to go to different countries to experience what is actually happening locally and think about what we're going to bring back to that into our practice and to every day. I've never been to Galway before. I've never been to Ireland before. I'm very excited to be going. Hazel, you are from Galway. What should we be expecting from Galway and the venue? Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure you're completely involved in all aspects of that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't know if you saw the video that we had kind of to introduce the Congress. We had big blue skies. People were saying we needed a disclaimer at the end of that video.
I was wondering if you were going to own up to that one.
I was going to close the curtains here, but it was raining. But so the weather, we don't know what that will be like, but maybe you'll bring all the sunshine with you as well. You did for the video. It's a university town, so it's one of those towns that it's very youthful. There's a lot of great energy. It's very arty, so you know, you've lots of musicians, artists.
Fabulous.
Great food and entertainment. It's very much kind of a water town because the river is running up beside the university. The city itself is between Lough Corrib and the sea, so Galway Bay. So anybody interested in water activities and that, it's really beautiful. And I think I would encourage people to try and stay longer. You know, to book the Congress, but there's so much to see on the Wild Atlantic Way. It's very rugged. It's pretty untouched. People are very friendly in Ireland. Did you say you have been to Ireland before?
Never been. This is going to be my first time.
Oh, yeah. So it's lovely. And there's fantastic music and dancing. And we will definitely have everybody up dancing, Kaylee. So, and if you don't know what that is, Google it. Know your steps.
Oh gosh, okay, that sounds fun. I love that. And I think that's always part of the conference that is always so fun is, you know, we do gather, we see each other, we all become friends, see each other each year, and the social element, which is interesting, right? We're talking about friends here, is so valuable to us, right? It's so important to us, and seeing our people in our community is so valuable. So can't wait to be there in Galway.
Yeah, and just to say, like, we've really tried to kind of marry things. So say, for example, you know, the adapted surfing, there'll be people, kind of lots of really nice talks on it. Then they'll do demos in the pool. But on the last day of the Congress, people with lived experience will go down to Lahinch, which is a really kind of famous part of Ireland for surfing. And we've also got a bus for delegates to also go down and join them and also surf.
Oh my goodness.
So that'll be really, really nice. And then just other things like
wetsuits along there? Should they bring wetsuits?
I think they actually supply them.
What?
Yeah. So that'll be really good fun. And Peter Rosenbaum, we will be absolutely delighted to have him here. But he's actually going to do a public lecture. So he will do a lecture for people at the Congress, but also for the community to come to as well too. So again, just trying to bridge that piece between community and academia.
That is absolutely fabulous. Yeah. So you're definitely getting me. I mean, I'm registered, I'm ready to go, can't wait to be there. But there'll be people who'll be thinking whether I should go or not. And I think after hearing this episode, you'll probably think about, yes, that should be going. Rory, I'll leave this one to you. If people are still deciding whether to go or not, what would you say to them?
Well, look, I think in line with what you just said, I mean, the social element is huge, and Galway is a fantastic city. I think outside of Kerry, which is where I'm from, it's probably the nicest part of Ireland. So I will say that. Yeah, but I think if you were, I mean, a lot of people have been to EACD before, and there's obviously a lot of repeat attenders. But I think this year is going to be unique in the sense of looking at everything through that F words framework. I think will give a good opportunity and calls to action, as we've said there. So I think it's going to be very unique from that perspective. So I think, and be very stimulating, and really marrying that kind of cutting edge science with real world practice and how it can be implemented into your daily practice. So, you know, I would really encourage people to come along for that reason and go and meet people. Yeah, do come. Yeah. And meet people when you're there, and don't be afraid to ask a question in the session or meet the person afterwards. I think that's a huge part of in-person conferences. You know, we all had virtual conferences during COVID, and we're meeting virtually today. But I think that in-person meeting, be it at the conference, in the coffee shop, or in the pub, of which there are many in Galway, is a hugely valuable component of it. And that's where a lot of and that's where a lot of collaborations really are formed, and a lot of friendships are formed. Yeah. And so
nothing beats being in the room together. And I can say that, you know, that we do the podcast and we speak to thousands upon thousands of people every week. I don't get to see them, but when I go to a conference and you meet people and they talk about what they like and what they'd like to hear more of, you know, there's so much there that we're shaping each other for. And it's EACD is one of the most friendly conferences that you'll go to. It's, you know, like come up to us, we'll have a booth, come up and talk to us. We really want to talk with you. And now people know what you look like. They can come up and talk with you as well and meet you. And really encourage people to do that. So how can people register if they haven't registered yet, Rory?
So our website is very simple. It's EACD2026.com. So the registration is open and still available on that website, including for our pre-conference courses, which you mentioned at the very start of the show. So again, I would encourage people, if you're coming on that journey, I think it's well worth your while coming for maybe that extra day and registering for the pre-conferences as well. And all the links are on there, and anything, there's contact information on the website. Obviously, if we can help with anything, we're more than happy to do so.
Absolutely.
So please do reach out.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so very much for getting us excited about this conference. You know, it's not just another conference. This conference is going to be really unique. And as you can hear from the enthusiasm and passion from both Hazel and Rory, there's something about this conference that we want to get a bit of and bring home with us. And it's just wonderful to know that we're going to look at it from our favourite framework, the F Words framework, which we do absolutely love. So we'll pop a link for registration on our website as well, researchworks.net. So go head over there. And of course, we've got a lot of resources available for you to take a look at on researchworks.academy. It's just so important that we're thinking about all the different things that we can do in our practice. And if you've got some ideas and questions, the conference is the best place for it. So I look forward to seeing a lot of you at the conference. Really excited to have great conversations with you. Hazel and Rory, thank you so much for being on the podcast this morning for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you this morning. Thank you very much, Dave. A real pleasure.
See you there, everyone.
Bye.
Take care, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.